Welcome everybody to Mudflood was Armageddon. Mudflood was Armageddon. What does that mean? Well, it means the golden age is past. This is a flat earth nation because what we call the mud flood, that event, was actually the biblical prophecy fulfilled of Armageddon in that generation that Jesus had lived. Welcome, fellow mudflooders, says the Swedish Lutheran. Well, we've got the number one Wisconsin Lutheran of all times with us, the famous Randy from Wisconsin. Hey, brother, how you doing, man?
Thanks for the invite
Yeah,
again.
I wouldn't have it any other way. We're going to start off by doing that. Let's look at the pictures thing. And I got this whole deal. Why can't I get sometimes things to save where I want them to save? It's just ridiculous, man. I got these downloads I wanted to show that are. Let's see if this one works. Tell me if you see anything weird on the screen.
Well, it's kind of small.
Yeah, that was too small.
Well, I can make it bigger here. Wait,
No,
a second.
let's get a bigger one. Water bridge. Because somehow if there's electricity applied to each cup and the waters can touch, like the rims touch, they'll form, and then just somehow to stay together, they'll draw from each cup.
You like a siphon?
Yeah, exactly like that. They don't want to break their connection. For some reason, did you see that action at the beginning?
Yeah.
The electricities, they're like, oh, there's a water molecule on the other side. I don't care. I got to go get to it, man.
Well, would that be partially the motion? You're sliding the two at the same time. They click the water in the cup, as far as getting them over the rim. I don't know. Maybe it's
Crazy,
yeah.
right? Just thank
Well,
you, Lord. We love you, Lord. Hey, these are these mountains we're going to be talking about, Randy. Remember, we didn't. We have no apologies. The
is
Lord
this the
got us
one
here with no show prep.
you got to be hosing me? Is this the one?
Yeah, you got to be hosing me. These mountains were one time. See how this comes up?
Yeah.
This was all a mountain range like that in the background, except supposedly the end quote, the Romans, those guys that were run by the Neros and the Caligulas and those terrible people. They did these to the mountains to get gold, and suppose they were just using slaves. Like, go find me the gold, man. I know. I figured out it was like kind of like 2,227, 28 metric tons of gold, they say, were removed from those mountains over 250 years. That's their timeline. There's one of those fancy armor things from that. I know how you love those.
Sardine can?
The Middle Ages.
Easy open sardine can.
So whatever. These are pictures that when I was. I like that tool where you do the screenshot. You can go like, look what I was looking at. See how that mountain? Look at that. They just wash it with the water, and I'll prove it. I got the websites that said, here's how they did it, and they got the tunnels to prove it, I guess. Y habla de español, como de acuerdo en la nacimiento de las cipresas de Rosa de Ariel. So you just go into the valley, you start digging, you build some caves, you burn it up, you use the water pressure to wash the mountain away, and you follow the old body parts, crack it, frack it, send it on its way. I guess I have something about auditoriums today. We're going to be busy, Mr. Randy. Look at this. Dude, I got a picture of this.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
cool.
seen that one.
Hey, look at all these buses down there. When I was a child, living on the farm. One of the big deals for me was the YMCA, and like for $5 or $3, I don't know. My family wasn't rich, but it was, they could, I'd go to all the camps and stuff. They'd send me, you get one of those buses, and they'd take you up to the famous Wrigley Field where those Cubs played, and then they'd give you the bus ride home. And honestly, we were children, and they'd just drop us off at the bus and say, meet us back here after the game.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that happening today.
Those were different times. Yes.
Right. I didn't have to worry about the YMCA gay guy, coming after me on the bus trip. I mean, it never entered my mind.
Yeah.
It never entered my mind, man.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have been embraced like it is today as well.
Brother Randy, we have to communicate to the people. The Lord will bless us that Jesus may have walked on this road. The Apostle Paul may have walked on this road. These things exist. We know what the Bible times were like. It was this. These things with the Roman concrete and everything, they don't change. This is the same world of the Bible, described in the Bible. This is their world that has not changed. It was not built during the 1,000-year reign. Why are there so many Greek and Roman gods on our buildings? Well, they found them too. Because there was a time when this world worshiped that, because they had no knowledge. Why didn't they have any knowledge, Randy? Because John the Baptist had not been born yet. What happened with John the Baptist? Goodbye, law and prophets. Hello, something new and better. Expound on that, Randy. Hey, there's the thumbnail. That's the thumbnail. You like that?
Yeah.
I like it. I wish it was clearer, but
you have any construction photos of this, or just
well, actually, this is the time when our blessed Messiah decided that he would just use karate chops to shape the stone. So he didn't want any pictures taken because, well, that's forbidden.
Hey.
So I got these video here. This is the one I want to look at.
Handiwork also, yeah.
10 incredibly advanced Roman technologies that'll blow your mind. And I was going to start off with I've got these notes that's going to be like sarcastic as all get out, like going like, how many times? And I have a bunch of things listed. Have you heard videos about, well, let me read them off to you here. And then I lost track. Roman concrete, aqueducts, bridges and buildings that blow your mind, domes that are still the largest concrete freestanding domes ever constructed in the world without rebar reinforcement, and they're still working today because that's the only world we've ever had that they've had. They said, look what we found. Wow, a world that you must have worshipped the Greek and Roman gods like they mean it. So we have the amphitheaters, the road network, the Roman mines everywhere. And then I have that Los Medalis. And then I have number 9. Yeah. Oh, so okay. It was 2. We'll see on the website how much it was. So I figured it out that it is actually 2,268 metric tons of gold. There's only been 155 or 220,000 metric tons of gold ever found in the United States based on how much gold is in the world there. So this is underneath the ground in those mines. It's body part. They just trace the body parts and blow them up or something. Oh yeah, here's another one. This is how they supplied the aqueducts to Rome. That was, about 100 miles away. Well, you can see down here on the map, they just dig down underground, man. Just we got to feed those cows down in the valley. This isn't how they look for gold. This is how they run the water. I guess so. This still is around today. That's how they got the power to grind their grain. The threshing floors and things like that. That's what was threshing it. Hey, I played 4 games of chess last night and
Mm.
won 3. I'd lost all 3 the night before. Hey, this is the twin sister of the Titanic. I just wanted, you always see the outside, you never get to see the engine room. So I got some other pictures, I guess. I found this interesting. Why would the invaders of the Mayans and everything look like this? This is what they drew pictures of. Here's the people that invaded us. It was these guys. They got a gun and they got this. Weird. This is unusual, dripping down over his. So keep that in mind. Because there's another picture that's kind of like it, but this is another guy. Hi Mayans. We're here we want to mine gold now, and we heard that we can wash away your mountains, and you can't stop us. So there's that loop underneath there again. Weird.
As far as it's a feminine looking guy in that headpiece, whatever that. Well, the other one particularly, but the lower neckline, if that's a bow tie or whatever.
See my bow
And
tie,
wings,
tie my bow
that's supposed
tie.
to be like angel wings on its.
No, he's like their angel that's telling them you've got a new heavenly father in Spain that is in touch with God. He's the Pope, and now you work for him. So get your ass back to work. We have to get familiar, though, first with this Hawksmoor from 1720. He's got a quote here. I guess I'm going to read it. A convenient and regular, well built city, excellent, skillful, honest artificers made be the greatest and quantity of the work in rebuilding such a capital. So they're not even trying to pretend that when they were going to redo London that they had built it. They're just saying, we got to rebuild this capital. But instead of these, we have no city nor streets nor houses, but a chaos of dirty, rotten sheds. So while they're cleaning out, at least they have this great capital to rebuild, because in the meantime, it's a chaos of dirty, rotten sheds, always tumbling or taking fire with winding, crooked passages, scarce practical lakes of mud and rills of stinking mire running through them. Winding, crooked passages. Thought that was interesting.
Yep.
Hey, that's the first submarine. I missed my screenshot. This is the first submarine. We'll see. The Holyoke Dam. Thanks. I like that information here. Studied a lot about Wisconsin yesterday after we hung up. Hey, the Waukesha and all of those cities, they all have something famous. All of the main towns from Appleton to Eau Claire to Green Bay, Waukesha, they all, I mean, were set up, found, and had those canals that were the first big turbine things. People could walk right through the middle of that dam. So this is how they powered it. Right there in Sauk Prairie, found another connection. Remember how I did my report for that History 301 class about there's no good timing on when we started using AC power? Found a connection there in Wisconsin in the 1880 where they were doing it. And it does appear they were using these things all as a test and a setup so that when they opened the Niagara Power Company, they would say, look what Tesla did. I just thought people want to know how big these, this is part of that. What the Titanic would have powered the Titanic and the Oceanic. The reason they sunk these and quit building them is because, man, nobody could. You can't explain what they did in the 1880s, 1890s when they were building these type of dams and reinforced things. I mean, they could do certain things, but honestly, it was a rebuilding of their capital cities, and they were here it is in Sauk Prairie. Just import this, and now you can build your town. Another steam driven. This is how they ran their electrical plants in 1880 in Sauk Prairie. That was supposed to be a secret thing being done there in Ouray, Colorado, as I proved in my report. They were building these electrical plants to mine the gold, do what they had to do, run the town. They got this on a train up the hill. No problem. So a lot of pictures here today. That's what's underneath there in Sauk Prairie Dam. That means that's a picture of me on the moon.
That was fun. Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, this is a screenshot, and I just thought that what they're portraying is, Tesla's crystal oscillator is making an analemma Mobius strip, and I thought that was interesting. I don't know if I've never had access to a crystal oscillator. First Corinthians 1:26 we read the other day. Not many of us were wise by human standards, and not many of us were influential. That's for sure. We didn't have a noble birth. We couldn't run around like the Apostle Paul and go like, hey, you can't beat me anymore. I'm a noble born Roman citizen from the Tarsus. You ever heard of it? Reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. That will be very important. We went over that the other night. I'm going to save that one and see what you just got to keep going on some of these things here. That's not one of them. I searched something. Oh, I wanted to do the Lord's Prayer in Luke. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. That was a interesting one to remind people about. We talked the other day. Everybody keeps thinking like, well, no, they only encouraged the people that Jesus was returning their generation because they didn't want them to fall back into sin, and they thought it was a white lie that might help them out in the long run. Looks like I was splitting a word, and it ended up meaning saint. Pure, chaste, holy, sacred. Yeah, because saint just means set apart. Anything, and so this word has this actually means saint, and saint, pure, chaste, holy, purifying, set apart. Yeah, we got it. The Jewish thing, unclean spirits, top 10 incredibly advanced things, okay?
Kind of what you were showing there, the saint, that's similar to what that guy was doing in that video, that the Lord's name would be in the people's name.
Yeah.
I mean, similar to that is what.
Yeah. Obadiah.
Glass. So if the story of Mudflood would be true, it would be another example where the ancients surprise us with technology way beyond.
So I meant to turn off the volume, but I paused it instead. So just shows, here, just has a lot of different things they could do back in the day. And, was it Rome? Was it Greek? Were the Persians, the Babylonians, the Medes, and the Persians? Those are the ones that the Bible talk about that are, in power. So, what kind of a Starfort world did we live in? The different things, we can go over, I had that list, the whole, well, what a surprise, Roman concrete. How many times have we seen videos on, oh my goodness, isn't that Roman concrete amazing? It's time to, accept all of these, different chapters, in this study of like, this was the Bible. These were the cities that, hey, go take the cities again, and go live into them. God is giving you these cities. Some of them were still decorated with the Greeks. They got flooded in the mud flood, and here they are now. Yeah, we're amazed. It's still the largest non-reinforced concrete dome in the world, and we can't understand it. It's supposed to be over 2,000 years old. Oh man, what else we got? I mean, the amphitheaters are everywhere. The aqueducts running. These were the Bible times. It was a connected world, not only in Europe like this, but these roads and these connections were the Medes and the Persians and the Babylonians. And, I think that as we're going to go through our tabs, there's the gold money. How'd they get it? One way, slave labor. We don't have to trust their dates, but you ever studied this glass, this goblet? Supposed to be
Is
from the
that one
third
that
century.
changes colors? Does that
This is the
change
one
colors?
that, depending on whether it's natural light from inside or outside, from in front or behind, it'll change from green to red simply by diffused light. Nobody knows
Okay.
how they did it, and then embellished it with all of this detail, because were able to do this by extracting extremely small gold nanoparticles and then infusing them into the glass. Or they found the glass that is, the Titan's body parts reserved in judgment, and were able to put it in a cup, make it into a cup. Here you go, your special cup. Get those gold cups like they were, for the house of the Lord. And well, then the people of Babylon could just say like, yeah, go get those cups. It's fun to drink out of them. Like they're not going to always be holy and set apart.
Yeah.
So these,
unlike Nebuchadnezzar's grandson that wanted to drink out of the cups and did.
that's right. They had their fun.
Yeah,
So these things still exist, Randy. These tunnels are never going to not have been found by King David and the other people. They can build some stuff, and the Bible people could do some of these things, but they could also do it everywhere else in the world. And surprise, surprise, they're going to decorate it with, they were people who feared the supernatural, the God, the whole, something. Look at that pattern on there. I think that's the super cool.
That's mosaic floor, or
yeah, same type of floor you'd find everywhere today. Surgery, the people, they find some evidence, and they can't hide them all, of people doing brain surgery 2,000, 3,000 years ago, talking about it. And they find the tools that they did it with. But, we had in 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, well, I can rub your head and tell you're a negroid. You're not human. That was ours. And a whole lot of crap that nowadays, doesn't work. Not that I'm down on the medical community. I'm sure they're trying as hard as they can, and we should do all that trusting of the CDC and the whole world.
Yeah.
Line up
Great.
for the ouchie every time they offer it to you. This guy had his fingers crossed, Randy. I just noticed that.
And for
Looked like
good reason. I don't know.
looked like that girl in the Truman Show where she's crossing her fingers or something. Like, it'll work. Let me cross my fingers.
Yeah.
So they got, they had the steam, and that steam power. From what I was looking on the Titanic, Oceanic, those things, their steam power is just unbelievably strong. And they all, did they have robots? Allegedly, they had some sort of robots because they still can wind them up and make them work today.
Yeah, and they were extremely high pressure
All that
vessel to
steam power. Was this one? Nero's rotating platform. That's another one of those astonishing Roman technologies that was blowing my mind, but then I started doing a bunch of notes, so I didn't get this far. They like to have fun, like people going up on top of that sky tower in Seattle and get to rotate around while you eat your lunch and things like that. I've done those a few times. They're fun. It's interesting. You get pretty good view. Greek fire, well, that would sure explain a lot of, things of the way they describe things went back in the day. A good way to, then that flexible glass, that's one that I just don't know, man. Some of the books that they talk about were actually, so they talk about flexible glass, but they haven't released it, I don't know, man. That'd be weird. Heating in the sand. We got that. What about this? This guy, R.L. Solberg, from, a year ago. Not a lot of views, really, for such a well thought out video. Is the mainstream Christianity really trying to take what we've been teaching here on the book of Acts for 6-7 years and now all of a sudden consider it mainstream?
Not sure. Oh, I need to take this.
All right. So the idea is what I was, introduced this to Randy. So we have a theologian now that it is ready to expose the biblical Hebrew roots movement. And I would advise anybody make a note of, defending the Bible, because he's basically using every argument you've been hearing for close to a decade now and passing it off as here's finally a way we can show that the Hebrew roots movement is just making things up, because they're the same Judaizers that were warned about in the New Testament. And in the New Testament, well, let's just go back, the any other gospel thing. So what I'll do here is just go to Galatians chapter 2. That's in the New Testament. And they usually name the cities and then the people for quite a while there. That's a good way to remember it when you want to, find that Bible. I was going to look up some Bible verses in Galatians and show you chapter 2. It's a city. And Is there any other gospel? There is no other gospel. And anybody that doesn't preach the gospel, once they've heard it in accordance with what Paul teaches, the Jesus Christ endorsed gospel, you know, people, the other day I had somebody ask, why you treat me like a scumbag? I said, well, you're an anathema. Do they understand what that means, Randy? I don't even know if Randy's back, but I'm going to show you what anathema means. So the Apostle Paul had been a Christian under the tutelage of the highest levels of Christianity, and he had a vision, and he went up to Jerusalem again with Barnabas and Titus, and he went up because, well, unless you've ever had something like this, you're supposed to have faith that these are real and they happen. It happened then, and it set before them the things in the Revelation, though he did it privately at first before those who seemed influential. A very, straightforward thinking. It was Peter, the man who was so close to Jesus. He hung out with the beloved Apostle John, and Satan, knowing Peter's influence, prayed, said, like he did to Job, let me sift Peter like sand. It was these people that he went back and talked to, because he had been proclaiming the gospel to the Gentiles and among the Gentiles, and he wanted to make sure that he had not been teaching wrong. And he phrased it as, I was not running or had not run in vain. But even Titus, who was with me, the Jews didn't force him to get circumcised. And though he was Greek, yet Paul still wanted to everybody to know. Yet because of false brothers, Jews they were secretly brought in by wolves and sheep's clothing, who shipped in to spy out their freedom that they have in Christ Jesus, so that they might bring us into slavery again. That's what God is saying. If they listen to those Judaizers, they're going back into slavery. Verse 5. To them, the false brothers, they did not yield in submission even a moment, so that they
you want to be sharing here, Alan?
Yep. Welcome back. Yep. Hi, everybody. Hi, Vicnoid. Hi, Tala. I'm sure I missed some people, but hi. I thought I was sharing, Randy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So going over Galatians 2 just to get the ground level of who they were talking to and how respectful Paul actually was, of the people in Rome. He was under their church submission. He was under them. And so that these false brothers were secretly brought in, spying out freedom. Paul did not yield in submission to the gospel that he had been given by God, yet he thought, hey, I better get the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. I'm going to Jerusalem to talk to James. And he wanted to talk to those people who he really thought were they seemed influential. They didn't give him anything. He said, no, you're preaching the gospel good, man. He said, on the contrary, when they saw that the gospel was good, that he was teaching the uncircumcised Gentiles, it was the same thing that Peter had been entrusted with, the gospel to the Gentiles, and he said, go do it. Because it was the same God who worked through Peter for his apostolic ministry to the circumcised, was working through the God-approved gospel of the Gentiles. And when James and Peter and John, that's as high as it gets, who seem to be the pillars, perceived the grace that was given to me, Paul, he said, they gave the right hand of fellowship to Barnabas and me, that we should go to the Gentiles and they to the circumcised. Only they asked us to remember the poor, the very thing I was opposed to do. And it talks about a little bit of a dust up with Peter, but these things happen.
And a much larger audience, I'm thinking.
Well, it was going to only be that remnant of the Jewish people. But
No, but I'm
our
saying
deal,
going to the if you're going to who is your audience? The Gentiles at that time should be by far the larger audience.
because that's 99% of the world,
Yeah,
Here,
so
let's just read what is a real gospel of grace, and there is a real gospel of grace, and then there are those who hear about the gospel of grace and then become anathema. Anathema. They become like the scum of the earth. He says, I am astonished you are so quickly deserting Jesus Christ, who called you in grace, and are turning to a different gospel. Not that there is another gospel, but there are some who trouble you and want to distort the gospel of Christ. Now, even if Paul was to go back to them and start preaching another gospel, it would be wrong. It would be evil. And that's what he's saying. If you ever hear anything else but that what I first preached to you, it's wrong. It's wrong. So there is no gospel contrary to the one that they preached to him. And it's kind of like, even if I come back and say, hey, I was just kidding, don't believe me. Because if you do, you will be accursed. Scary times ahead. Anybody that doesn't want to know the truth about what it's like and how come people that hear the truth, that, Jesus Christ, hey, Paul, go take the gospel to the Gentiles. And then if they fall in love with Jesus Christ and then walk away, they become anathema. Accursed. They are accursed. If they want to preach that other gospel, he is to be accursed.
Yeah, they would be better off if they had never heard it to begin
They
with.
may have they're lining up behind Judas.
Sure, yeah.
It's properly, referring to something pledged to destruction. You are given up to destruction. You are a accursed oath breaker. You have you don't care to find out what a vow means. Properly setting up or laid by in order to be kept. Specifically, a burning offering, which after being consecrated to a god was hung upon the wall or column of his temple. Another thing here is this. Last night, the Lord revealed to me too. Anybody that's getting their history from the Maccabees, I don't even know if there was a Bar Kokhba revolt. It's not mentioned in our Gospels. The history on it from the mainstream is sketchy as all get out. So why are we even believing that there was such a thing as a Maccabean revolt where they were so heroic and everything, Give me a break. Man devoted to the direst of woes. You're anathema. You're doomed. There is no other gospel. There is no, we figured it out. You can love Jesus more by disobeying the person Peter and Paul and James and John go like, here's the gospel to the Gentiles, because even in the very beginning of the Bible, here's that gospel. I'm going to find that part. Remember, Ananias is quite the name in the Bible, isn't it? And he went to the high priest. You saw the prophetess Anna. And who is this? Let's see. He went Simeon. Okay, it wasn't Ananias. There was a man whose name was Simeon. This man was righteous, devout, waiting for the consolation of Israel. And it had been revealed to this
The new
Simeon,
Jimenez? Yeah, I
yeah,
get
that he would see the Messiah before he died. And he was in the spirit as usual in the temple when Jesus got there, and he took him up in his arms and he said, Lord, now you are letting your servant depart in peace as promised, like Abraham, for my eyes have seen your salvation that you have prepared in the presence of all people. The very first real prophecy in the temple about Jesus Christ is emphasizing that he's the light for revelation to the Gentiles. That has to be taken serious for the glory of your people Israel. It's so from now on of the time that they're already well into the time that law and the prophets are over, because that's until John the Baptist, and this is this is the Jesus, So
Yeah, at this time, yeah, John the Baptist is what, 6 months older than what Jesus is, or
right.
ish.
So that's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah, these are early times.
So we had to move on here. So I get that water thread experiment, showed a picture of it earlier. Again with the 5 volts. 5 volts is all it takes to connect the water.
Okay, sure. So they're running a direct current voltage between the two beakers. Is that
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
into
Both beaker has a one negative,
longer?
one positive, and then when they slide them together, the
Yeah.
water, in their description, spontaneously rises along the
Okay.
thread over the glass walls. Okay. This is that gold mining historic site where the Romans just extracted all that gold. They say it was the most important gold mine, as well as the largest open pit gold mine in the entire Roman Empire. The Medullas cultural landscape is listed. Who cares what the heritage site does? Its spectacular landscape resulted from the Runa Montium, the ancient mining technique of just tear down the whole freaking mountain, you know? Again, with the leaving this and this was interesting because I wanted to be like, so wow, this would be an example of not a tree but a body part, because they've washed down the whole mountain and you can see where the veins and arteries were connected, and different epidural skin levels. What's that doing there? Who knows what part of the body they're in? It would take time to understand it, but underneath your ground, there's always this stuff, and it's always going to be revealing. So these mountains used to look like these ridges, but then by doing those aqueduct size scale mining, they forced the water and just said, well, according to them, they would 60, 70,000 people working on it. That's the largest mine in the world. And this is a ghost town where the workers stay, I guess, That Roman concrete held these walls of unhewn stone together. It's a tourist place. That body part. So La Medullas. So anyway, this mining technique was described in what they call 77 AD. And it was, the hydraulic mining. We'll look at that, but the water pressure and then the steam, and realizing, as we've already touched on, that at least 7 long aqueducts tapped the, not rivers, just streams. But if you could just build up water, that's enough. Where the rainfall in the mountain is relatively high at a range of altitudes. Those 7 aqueducts were used to wash the extensive alluvial gold deposits. All right. So this, Pliny the Elder is basically, he was the first king of a destiny.
So I have a question. I mean, it sounds like a legitimate process. I'm not disputing that, but you'd think somewhere in the valley there's going to end up an awful lot of spoil unless they're, packing it away with donkey carts or unless they put in a railroad for lower at the lower elevation. I mean, common sense is going to tell you, where that ought to end up. But again, with whatever 60, 70, 80,000 slaves, you probably could get something done.
Yeah, you're going to get it done, but we don't know about their conveyor belt systems or anything else. So far, I have these things pulled up.
Period of time.
Yeah, so we'll just look at some of the things they were capable of doing. Here's another one, not as big as the largest one in the world, but the Delicate gold mine somewhere out there in, this is where allegedly my family traces their roots back to, I never knew there was Wales had a gold rush. They did. This is another old mine. They must have had the aqueducts and stuff too. Small tank A. I don't get it. They got it all figured out, man.
Yeah.
And hey, there's somebody figuring it out. You're like, check it out. 1938, they were still doing it that way. This way. Sequence of wheels. This is how that's pretty advanced, brother, because these are, levels 338-6 through 312-7. Lot. We saw these elevation wheels earlier as I went through some pictures.
Yeah, it's reusing the water as many times as possible between the elevation change and
You know how many step downs when we get to the engines of the Titanic and the Oceanic? They started with 210 pounds of pressure per square inch, and they had engines in those steamship luxury liners that reprocessed all of the steam that was lost from the 210 pounds per square inch down to 98, then down to 50, down to 30, down to 9 before it condensed back to water and was reused along the way from England to the United States and things like that. So it was, they use every possible aspect of the water. Here's, just another refresher of your memory. What's up with these? I have it written down here. The average aqueduct, 33 meters high, and an unprecedented, unaccomplishable fact that the drop of the aqueducts was 1 meter per 5 kilometers standard throughout this flat earth nation. It was always going to be You want to build an aqueduct? The slope is drop it 1 meter for every 2.5 miles. No, wait, that would be 3.2 miles. So every 10 kilometers is 6.2. 3.1 miles would be the 5 kilometers. You drop that 3 feet. Come on. You couldn't do that today with a D8. Maybe some people could, but not many. And again, the Roman concrete, they're still here because these are the only cities that have ever been here. Why are they dressed like Greek gods? Well, they worshiped those people. With great as Artemis of Ephesus, will die for her. They were serving their gods. These are those aqueducts. These drop 1 meter every 3.1 miles. 33 meters high is their standard deal. They got these Roman concretes. They're still here because they're the only cities that'll ever be here, except the crap that we build around them and stand back and go, aren't we good?
Yeah. Do I have any service here?
So once again, this is just an article that says the Roman technology, but I'm going to guarantee you it was also somehow it must include the Babylonians, the Medes, and the Persians, because they had to agree on all the laws. They had all kinds of the steam power was.
Yeah, they knew what worked.
But the largest reconstruction of a crane they can get to work to lift these size, it lifts these size rocks. Here's a reconstruction of a 10-meter high crane, and it can lift these size rocks, but that doesn't explain everything we see, does it? Because they can build these domes without reinforcement. We've all, how many times have we seen the videos on these things? The House of Wisdom, the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. Wait, it's Constantinople now.
Yeah.
But so it's a plastered thing. No, it's not. It's brick. It's the same thing. It always will be the same thing. The only mysterious thing is how they build these without reinforcement. Well, they had that concrete. What a mystery. It's a mystery. No, it's not. If it is, it's because you want it to be a mystery so that you don't have to hit your knees and thank God that he died for your sins and you're one called, two chosen, and Lord willing, three faithful. Bridges, tunnels, gold mines, where would we be? We wouldn't know anything without these people. Yeah, they're the height of civilization. Come on, the Bible tells us that these were their buildings. This is, Caesar made a pontoon bridge and then crossed the Rubicon River and burned it and said, we're not going back till we kick all their asses. Wow, way to go. Wonder what the Babylonians and the Persians were doing at that time, But technically, they still want us to believe that the feats of the Romans were rediscovered and or improved upon during the Middle Ages, which lasted 1,000 years and had no improvement. And then at the beginning of the modern era, we rediscovered the wisdom of their societies and how to emulate them. And here's that hydraulic mining. After the gold nuggets on the ground run away, you got to start bringing down the mountains. Hydraulic mining had its beginning in the practice of ground sluicing, a development of which is also known as hush, hush. I thought I heard a calling my name. Now hush, hush. She broke my heart, but I love her just the same. Now burn, burn. Oh, wait, that's Deep Purple. Hushing is in which the surface streams of water are diverted so as to erode gold-bearing gravel. The technique was developed in the first centuries before our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ as defined in the mainstream. The method was all, so not only in Rome over there in Spain, but it was also used in, well, we showed you that one where you honkies are from. Hushing. It's a new one on me. So this is how they did it in the United States in San Francisco Gold Rush. And they said, hey, you can't do that. Famously portrayed in the movie Pale Rider that showed an example using the equipment from the 1880s of how to bring down a mountain. I do not recommend the movie Pale Rider. It is an adultery themed movie. What are they going to do it? Some countries still allow it. So it's a lot of metric tons of gold. They have 250,000 tons of metric gold in the world today that has ever been found. This guy hawks more. He hawks more BS than you would think is humanly possible without help from Satan. He did, where your relative, the Winston Churchill was born and raised.
Yeah,
he's the architect of that house.
Sure he was, yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He did this one too.
No doubt.
Yeah. And he influenced poets and authors because even the famous T.S. Eliot mentions his famous, hey, check out this church he designed. I was there and I just stood in awe of it. And as the greatest poet, I'm telling you, he's as good as Christopher Wren. As a matter of fact, he apprenticed under Christopher Wren, the Christopher Wren. That's what they say anyway.
Those he influenced are too numerous to list.
The son of a bitch was the guy that brought in this, say, theistic Satanism. This guy is a real bastard. Hawks more my ass. I'm going to cuss like a bandit right now, Randy. I just want to scream out cuss words. I can't. He's anathema to me. I want to give you the rundown on this guy.
Well, why don't you just call him like you see him then, right?
All right, this guy's an idiot. I don't believe he even really existed. Or whatever. He's just, how much more proof do we need that they made all this shit up? They backward engineered it to say, here's a picture of a guy on a bus. Let's say he did this, that, or the other thing. This guy wasn't designing all these buildings, And he's not even Christopher Wren. He just apprenticed under Christopher Wren. He did all this crap. So they say. Yep. Why not?
Someone needs to take credit.
He's the Hawksmoor. Hawkmoor BS is what it sounds like to me. He did it all. Mary of the Woolworth, Woolnoth. He's the first designer of a mausoleum in Europe there because they were doing it in the other countries. So this guy Hawksmoor said, I can do that. Let's build one. This is the first mausoleum back in the day there. Pretty good one. Threw that up just because he thought it. Why not? This is a castle. Castles. A lot of found buildings back then to sign. But if it has to be done, so the computer will say, this guy did it. Yep. Okay, and then you're 12 years old and you're, reading a book and they tell you he did it. What are you going to say? Nah, I don't believe it. Why are these meanders all versions of swastika, well, they were just into it. They were doing it somewhere else, so they said, let's do it here. And you can hold on to those pipe dreams if you want to. And we don't have to talk about these doors here with the other doors. You've seen it 100 videos. It's time eventually, Randy, my man, right there. No other choice to say, much learning, there is no end. When are you going to apply it to your life and do what, realize, wow, I've just
Yeah,
been shown God.
the door in a door to me appears as though a aftermarket modification to the original, but
Right.
that's just my take.
Yeah, my wife is having a hard time pushing these giant doors open because they're rusting out. You're not taking care of them. Let's say I build a smaller door to get her off my back. That'd be my first thought. Baby, I'll put a door in there for you. No problem. One less thing to worry about. So here's that guy Hawksmoor. I don't even have to get into the fact that, he stuttered under Christopher Wren. That guy's not a freaking setup. Then what is? What is that theistic Satanism that the great Hawksmoor in the early 1700s, he's all about? He was all about it. Well, it's traditional Satanism. It's an umbrella term for all those people that consider Satan the devil, to objectively exist as a deity, a supernatural entity, a spiritual being worthy of worship. So started back then with those guys, the same Rosicrucians, Freemasons, look, I'm my hidden hand, all of you, when you hear about Gnosticism, Sealedism, Hermeticism, neo-paganism, the left-hand black magic, ceremonial magic, Aleister Crowley-Linian magic, Western esotericism, cult tradition, the cabal, it always goes back to the people who consider themselves independent of the Abrahamic religions. Jeez. It's a cultic milieu. I know a guy that used to use the milieu all the time back in the 90s when we were studying the same stuff. Oh, we can change the government because look how bad they are. So it's the same thing we're dealing with today. The modern day Satanism is still the same thing. Moral panic, sexual abuse. I guess do people want to need any more proof? I mean, I'm pretty much exposed to this the other day as like Ukraine, Siberia. You want white sex slaves, that's where they got them, and they filled it all up with that human trafficking population, and it's just no doubt about it. They have one thing in mind, abuse them, use them, cook them and eat them. It's what they're into, man. It's like look at some of these titles, they're just completely out of their freaking mind, just insane. Anathema, the whole left-hand path, right-hand path. So that Baphomet terminology of the occult, the Aleister Crowley, believing that the left-right dichotomy refers merely to different kinds of working and does not necessarily connote good or bad magic. It's just, you get the right-hand path. Their terminology, of course, was anti-Christian, very much, for instance, using sex magic or embracing satanic imagery. It gives them a great feeling. Let me finish this sentence before you because this is going to add to your thoughts. Now, they get great fun by breaking taboos because that makes their magic more potent and can lead to reintegration, and liberation. Now, they use the example. For example, the eating of meat in a vegetarian community can have what they consider the same liberating effect as anal intercourse in a sexually inhibited society. Randy from Wisconsin, what are we dealing with here? If not admitted sexual perversion, it's Balak and Balaam all over again. Go, Randy. I mean, warn these people.
Well, yeah, when it comes to evil, and primarily everything that implies, that's pretty much what you're witnessing. Yeah, as far as my ability to
I want to welcome Ellen Rose
explain
and
it
tell.
away.
I want to give
No,
Ella much love and encouragement, and glad that she could stop by. Thank you, Luther. I remember you telling me about that, and things have. There's a couple of people that have
yeah,
been.
that's we're dealing with that in our family,
Yep.
certainly.
Randy, you're getting ready to drive to Florida pretty soon.
Well, yeah, it'll be a week from yesterday morning is when we'll be taking off, and it won't be my marathon straight through technique. We'll do a pair of nights on the road with our goal to pull into our destination sometime be a week from tomorrow afternoon.
Well, he'll always be Randy to Wisconsin from me. I don't care if you're going to eat. This guy, he's been in Florida, Tennessee.
Well, last year I did a couple
Yeah,
trips.
we'll see.
But yeah, as far as a spiritual war, certainly that is happening. But yes, it's done in the physical realm, this side of eternity. So
They're
yeah,
really into.
when it comes to the temptations, so to speak, and uninhibited restriction. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
uninhibited, whatever they want, uninhibited at the time.
Well, restrictions.
Unfortunately,
They don't want any restrictions. So that's their lifestyles and the
there
realm
sure
that,
is a lot of left-hand path. Hail Satan, Joy of Satan Ministries, Typhonian Order, Orders Templi Orientis. Okay, basically, Theolema is Rosicrucianism, That's the Typhonian Order. They're not trying to hide it. It's Crowleyism,
well,
and
it's
the
in your
world was
face. No,
into
they're
it.
not
They
hiding anything.
loved Darwinism.
Yeah, anything
It's
contrary
Rosicrucian.
to God's word, they're in.
They were very respected people of their time. The Thelemic magical order created by Crowley because he was trying to improve and go deeper than the Rosicrucians' Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. That's what he belonged to before he started his own magical order. It was a magical order, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It was active in Great Britain up into World War II, considering Aleister Crowley worked with Ian Fleming. But, all of them. You had to be Freemasons and members of the Rosicrucians.
Yeah, Ian Anderson, I think, was Jethro Tull.
Exactly. In the shuffling madness came
Yeah,
the locomotive breath,
yeah.
the all-time loser rushed headlong to his death, calling down the corridors on his hands and knees, saying, Charlie lost the handle in the train. It won't stop rolling. There's no way to slow down. Rosicrucian Park in San Jose, California. You got the Rosicrucian Egyptian Museum that was built there in 1932 for the researching of the then Peace Garden, added in 2004 by this guy. He's a modern Rosicrucian. He became the Imperator on the 12th of April, 1990. So he's probably had a steady paycheck since then. I had to search the West Point giant chain. We got something going on with that giant chain, man. What's that? The West Point Museum, huh? So there's something, they had this chain was attached up here. Well, this is the readout. Where's the chain? There it is. There's part of it. This chain blocked off the whole river. It weighed 65 tons and required 40 men, 4 days to install it. The chain floated on rafts assembled from 16-foot sharpened logs anchored between Constitution Island and West Point, kind of like this. So they still know where it was. Pretty cool. West Point chain, West Point, Star Fort. I thought that was funny to put my face in that.
Yeah. Little humor. Never heard anything.
What's this? Oh, there's this group of people called the Observers, and I did a show on them, and they surprisingly are, relevant in history because they show up in a few cases with notebooks of saying like, oh yes, well, we are observers and I write these things down. I don't interfere, but I did write down on this date, that date, this happened. And oh, so you're the murderer, so, but that's not what I got up with. Whatever, it's like the observer effect is supposed to be, I don't know, but it's going to come down to, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Brother Randy, how am I going to tie that in? What is that? Is that a cop out, or what am I? What's it all about? How did they shape?
Yeah, whether it's
how do they shape our realities? How do they make us think what we think?
What you think in your heart, and then possibly what you allow into your heart reflects what the thought is. So, yeah, maintain your guard. I would be my advice.
Yeah. All right. So here we go with the Bible verse. You're not supposed to be like these people. These are the bad guys, the devil. Watch out for the works of the devil. The children of the devil are supposed to be obvious to us. Anybody that doesn't listen to the gospel that Paul preached is anathema. They're one of these people called by the devil and Satan. They, because
my feeling on that. And Jesus called out a group and told them who their father was. But as far as originating from such a group, I can't say I'd be excluded, but that's the beauty of adoption. Um,
Yeah.
when
So
it comes,
if you deny, because these verses, they're going to go back to that if you deny what Paul taught and that there's any other gospel, and that even if he tried to change it, once it had been presented to the Gentiles as here's the gospel, there is no other gospel. You are a slanderer. You are of the devil. You are defaming Christ. You are a backbiter. You are going to be judged so bad because you're in league with the slanderer, the accuser. You're supposed to be beware of the devil. You're not like maybe he's not that bad, or maybe Paul's the bad one or something
or,
like that.
or does he truly exist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's real for sure.
Because we have these verses, that the devil has been sinning from the beginning, and it was for this reason that the Son of God was revealed. And there's no doubt that he was revealed so that he might destroy a primary verb, that it's going to be, he is going to do it by himself, he's going to destroy
I think,
the
might
the
is
energy and
he may,
toil that the
he
devil,
will, he did. His victory is ours.
his victory is ours. By his stripes we
Yeah,
are
that
healed.
might isn't, some sort of maybe. That's may. He will, he did.
And if you ever, it says that if you preach another gospel, you are accursed because now you're worshiping this guy. And it's your father, the devil, the author of lies. It's going to be like, I've read the Bible and I've come to the conclusion that it's wrong.
Well,
It's wrong. I'm right. Don't listen
well,
to Paul. Listen to me.
well,
I'm not accursed
well,
like the
to
Bible
think that
says.
there's to think that there's ever a time anyone is on the fence. No one is on the fence. You're either one side or the other. There isn't
Yeah.
anyone, that's riding the rail.
Right. And I'd have a problem too admitting, like, okay, I've been ensnared by the devil. Can you just leave me alone and trust me that it's not another gospel? It's the true gospel. Okay. Well, the children of the devil are revealed when they deny the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. In Matthew 25:41, I wanted to look up that he's, left apart from me, you are cursed, being cursed into the fire of eternal, whatever's been prepared for the angels. It's just not good. You're this, if anathema is not bad enough for you, this is the, hey, depart from me. You're one of these guys. And you're going to something that's eternal, that we're supposed to, once we've been like, hey, here's the gospel, we're supposed to be all in, or we're going to be like one of them. We are still supposed to bless them that do this to us, but they are under that curse. If people say, why'd you tell that person, get out of my life? Well, because Jesus said, depart from me, accursed ones. You know where you're going. You're not those blessed ones.
Reserved for destruction. Yeah.
They're actually the opposite of the blessed ones. These are these people that go like, don't trust the Bible. Don't trust Jesus chose Paul. Trust, trust, trust us that we got a better way. Okay, sure you do.
'Cause, 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 'cause,
Jesus
Amen.
answered them. So we're going to find another action verb. Answered the 12. Here's your 12 people that he chose. One of them was one of those people, the Diablos. And he entered into Judas. This was something, the end from the beginning. It was going to happen. And he did this. Because a lot of people can be chosen, but not faithful. Here's that John 15:16. You've not chosen me, I've chosen you. And once you're exposed to, been chosen to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's about as strong a root word as you can get, one best consider this is not advice. This is do this. So answered the 12. He did not choose them, but one of them was a devil. It's good plan. Everybody should always, look back on this, and when you read something like that, you can say, this seems to be working out perfectly. I was kind of overwhelmed by what was going on in Oshkosh, and I thought, since I have the brother Randy with me, and he knows a lot about this town, we'll just hit a few. Oshkosh, named after a Native American of the Oshkosh persuasion.
Chief Oshkosh, yeah.
Yep. So Oshkosh, although the fur trade attracted the first white people to the area in 1818, it never became a major player in the fur trade. The 1920s mining boom. Did you know there was a mining boom in southwest Wisconsin along the opening of the Erie Canal? Yeah. With Wisconsin? Something happened there that, anyway, it shifted activity away.
Yeah, Mineral Point, and I know in the southwest area of Wisconsin was a mining area, Mineral Point.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is showing, well, that map there. Okay, yeah, right there along Lake Winnebago, where Oshkosh is on the midway shoreline of the west shore of Lake Winnebago. You have Fond du Lac way down to the south end of the lake, Fond du Lac, French, and then Appleton up to the north.
Yeah, there was just too many.
And then there's other communities, but those are.
And here's how they explain Wisconsin. The state that
Menasha. So yeah, there's a number of communities along that west shoreline of Lake Winnebago.
Here's how they got there. Here's how they got there, Randy. Following the publicity caused by the Black Hawk War in 1832, somehow people from Europe were more interested in settling Wisconsin by whites from the East Coast because there were no blacks allowed. Slavery wasn't allowed because that would have meant black persons were allowed in Wisconsin. Now, they were settling at the same time, New York, Indiana, Virginia, between 1932, 36 up to 47, 48. All of these towns were established, rebuilt, because they were found. It obvious that Wisconsin, Indiana, these states were important at that one. That, no other way in the world is a place known for plains today was going to be founded as the sawdust capital of the world, because it had 11 lumber mills in 1860, all being powered by the hydraulic powers that, steam, make up the everything, 47 in Oshkosh, 15 shingle mills by 1874. But then, of course, Oshkosh had a series of great fires and everything else. but all of these towns, everywhere in the world, it's the same thing. These are the upgrade from the Sears housing kits to, I think, the Comstock housing, but it's the same thing. If they're not the historic, famous Oshkosh, buildings that are, I guess all roads lead to Oshkosh, but so you have those, kit houses, but then there's the actual, of course, it's going to be Greek and Roman. All of these buildings are. They're the brick buildings from that day that have just been refaced, and they're always going to be used.
Yeah, Old Main Street has some spectacular buildings, interior and exterior. That one guy, the lunch break dude, did the griffins on the front of that. I think it's an insurance building, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I've been down that street numerous times.
Did you know that the officially the beginning of the National Basketball Association, of when it started, between the, when it was all white power, only white people could play in it. Oshkosh was the doggone, they reached the finals of the NBA championship 5 times. I mean, they were the Los Angeles Lakers of the pre-World War II era. Way to go. 33 listings in Oshkosh on the National Register historic thing. Devastating fires, plural, in the mid 1870s. So they had to, that's how they claim, oh, these buildings are all new. Please stop it. We have one idea. We want you to knock it off. Delavan.
Yeah,
it's another one of these geological, unexplainable. It's even called the Delavan Lobe, where a glacier broke off in Michigan and somehow came over here to Walworth County and caused the Delavan Lobe. Sure you did.
What, gouged out Lake Geneva?
Yeah. See how close it is to the border?
Yeah, I know where it's located. Yeah, I do.
That's how come, like where I lived was like right where my mouse is right now. And that's how come when I was the athletic director at Christian Liberty Academy, we were called the Swiss Conference, the Southern Wisconsin, Illinois Small School,
Yeah, there's a Fox Lake area down there, I believe, also. And there's a Fox Lake up here, but it's not on the Fox River flowage, but not far away from the head of the Fox, which is like 3 miles from where I'm sitting. It flows north to the Green Bay.
You know where we went for our athletic director meetings? This building at the School for the Deaf in Delavan, which is all of this complex. It's all fenced in now. But yeah, I used to go sit in these great big fancy rooms for, scheduling small private schools for rich honkies.
Smokestack, yeah.
I like Delavan because it's where all of the clowns, that's where they wintered during the I don't know what we want to call it, the reset world, when they were, they were using all the clowns and circuses, not only Ringling Brothers, but they're
Barlow and Bailey or whatever. Ringling Brothers does it, and Baraboo.
Yeah. And I was surprised that as I was looking through the Delavan, Wisconsin type of a thing, that was, it was in the 1600s, Delavan was part of New France. Then it came under, control of Canada in 1783, Wisconsin Territory in 1836. These buildings have always been there. So here we go. It says, now the original P.T. Barnum Circus was organized in Delavan. This guy did it. He loved the circuses. And it is still, Delavan was the site of Wisconsin's Circus Centennial. Delavan was selected by the United States Post Office to issue on a first day cover basis the 5-cent American Circus commemorative postage stamp in 1966. I know I always thought it was just amazing that all the clowns and the circuses went there. This is that famous school for the deaf. Yeah, this is where we used to have our meetings. Pretty fancy. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look for, now if I back that out and type in clowns, maybe that guy that does all the clowns is Nephilim stuff. We'll think like, hey, I better go check out this town,
Maybe.
This one's not opening up very fast. Delavan sits in the middle of what
I think I was wrong on that Oshkosh thing. Not that lunch break dude, but that other guy. It was the Orpheus channel, or what? I'm trying to think of his name of his channel, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah,
let's look at Walworth.
He does fair. Yeah, he does fair coverage, I think, or exposing questionable.
Been to the Alpine Valley Resort many times to see the concerts here in Walworth.
Oh, right.
That's where Stevie Ray Vaughan took
Crash and burn.
Crashed and burned because Eric Clapton played too long or something, and so a lot of coincidences in that rock and roll world.
Yep.
But we used to go here because my sister-in-law ended up having to be, put into a home. She had an aneurysm when she was in high school, and she was in a home up here. So we spent a lot of time up there vacationing and visiting, and it's near Lake Geneva. It's a beautiful part of the state. Let's just keep rolling here. It's this Alliant Energy. So they're there in Madison, Wisconsin. Somehow Alliant Energy goes back to that, unexplainable. What the hell's going on in Sheboygan,
I think they're actually headquartered in Iowa. I thought.
Yeah.
Because they took over Wisconsin Power and Light, or merged. Yeah, and that's who supplies my electrical service here in the greater Manchester area.
Which includes everything. So I was looking at here the history of from Berlin, because that town is,
there's Berlin, and then there's New Berlin, and that's where one of my younger brothers just purchased a property there last year, outside, and his address is New Berlin.
So they got the hydroelectric power plants in Wisconsin proved that my final essay for history of Colorado.
Yeah.
We had some things going down at the same time, and now it seems like, in 1982 that, even this Vulcan Stream plant, was being built on the Fox River in Appleton. Now, 1982, they were building, these hydroelectric, electric things in Colorado so that they could open up in like for the Niagara Power, the big show where Tesla said, look what I did all by myself, and surprise, surprise, it worked. But it seems like quietly behind the scene from the mining engineers have proven it. Yeah, it's going to work, but it had to be done in a way of the big Tesla thing of like, wow, we're in a new age now, people, and look at us go. It has something to do with that. Otherwise, it just, it doesn't make sense that, there's all of these things from the early 1900s where, and this thing of the Wisconsin Dells, Randy, the Wisconsin Dells was one of the main places in the whole United States at one time, with the building of the dams and the power that they found, all the mounds. Those people that came there in the 1880s or 1830s until the 1880s were given a privileged location of where it's the mound capital of the world because it was like a capital for the previous civilizations in that area.
And they knew then it would be a huge tourism trap. So all they need to do is develop it.
Just maintain it and say that's a reason we're here, is that we're not rebuilding these dams. We built them, we found them, and love us. Okay, I don't think it's a rewrite of history, everybody, or it's not. So we got the Vulcan, street one. Byron Kilborn, American surveyor. Look at how hard we used to have to work. Everybody thinks that it's so easy. It is not. Look at this, man. You know what you have to do? It would take me, and they only give you 5 minutes. If you can't set up and get this thing level in 5 minutes, you can't be a surveyor anymore. And we didn't have these electric computerized ones either. Yeah, this is the way. This never changed. This is always what. Just, it's harder than people. It's hard work to survey.
Well, even build. The optics is very detailed with the instruments.
It's so amazing. I mean, they can be so far away, but it doesn't matter. You can zoom in on their, you have to be able to zoom in on their tape measure and see, okay, they're 33.36 of an inch, or, these aren't for guessing. We got to go down. We're getting down, to the.
Yeah, it's intricate.
It's very intricate. Yeah. It's got to be precise. But in 1870, I just can't believe it.
The instrument is only as accurate as what it was set up at the time. It's, like you say, if you don't have it true, you're not going to have any accuracy. So yeah, it's the plumbing, the leveling.
Right. You drop your plumb bob right over the exact point of a known thing, and it has to be level. It has to be level or it's not going to work. So this is all, hey, look what we found,
Circle the
wagon. This is the standard
modern equipment.
These were invented around in the early 1900s, and we used these into the at least 1983 when I left. But there aren't any more surveyors in the United States military anymore. It's all electronic. I don't know if anybody's pulling rod and pushing pins anymore.
Just Google it. Yeah. Government, military. Yeah, that's how.
So this
Google
is what
came
we
about.
had to pass. So because wow, this is a great article because I worked on this, documented the pads. It's the parallel azimuth direction system. The surveyor back in the day when I was just closing out, my young, couldn't stand it military career. Record field data, prepares schematic sketches, marks survey stations, performs astronomic observation, measures azimuth angles, determines deviations for target connections, position areas, blah, 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 blah. Assist pads operator. Well, there was no pads operator until Sergeant Gavin and Sergeant Blazina got it all. What do they call that? Coordinated, or they got it all nailed down. I mean, we didn't even really have to help because they were just using that first big computer thing on the back of a Jeep. But they transferred it, strapped down preparations for pads. I should see if that'll come up and see that it can confirm that its definition. See, they don't want to put it on there anymore that it stood for parallel azimuth direction system because we were triangulating. This is from 2012.
Yeah, I see we've crossed the 100-minute mark. Not that I'm
Okay.
not that I'm prodding you. I don't have
Nope,
any
I've got some things coming up
commitment
too, but
a little later, but
yeah, we can do that. I wanted to, let's see what here. Static's got
I
out
sent
some
you
more
that
things. Toad House 7 has a new video. Shelly's put out a video. Someone liked my comment. Keep up the great work. I commented on a video because it's like I don't
Oh
want to
yeah, that
always
was
do.
that one that I left that comment. That's that one on St. Louis. Was it something history?
Yeah. So I left a comment. It's got 10
Yeah,
thumbs up and a
I
heart.
thumbed it. I thumbed it.
So his comment from the old world expedition,
Yeah, right. That's the guy.
thanks will do.
Yeah. So I'll go
Okay.
over and thumb his thumb for it. Because
Well,
I thumbed when I went through all the comments, I think there was maybe 84, and I thumbed just about everyone. Someone, yeah, there was some criticism that I didn't thumb, but most of them I gave everybody a thumb for their comments,
yeah.
as well as his replies, or I went through them all at that time.
Let's let's take a second here if we can. This says at timestamp, we'll say 3 minutes a little before. Actually, those bricks may be wooden blocks. Okay. That everybody wants this to be a tree thing, I guess.
Well, they were saying that the wood would be more of an insulator for the electricity with that comment, I believe, but in the comment. So, yeah, but there's plenty to take in. For sure.
Structure bearing the signs of what we call antiquotech. Some of us in this research, some interesting flair to be sure, at the very least. Demolished in 1999, you could see there. So built in 1929, you're going to see quite a few in this that are right in this late 20s period. And we have an early photograph, supposedly from right around that time that it was built. street or an unpaving of the street. It's a bit suspicious. It looks a bit suspicious to me anyway. I think they're digging this out.
That's super
Make of it what-
suspicious. That's just crazy suspicious. Look at the back here.
Yeah, as far as
They're digging out the road and then just going to like try to put some bricks back in it and tamp them down, I guess.
yeah, that may be the task at hand. Yeah, it's
Here
hard
we
to.
have Auguste
Right.
Chateau, supposedly the founder of St. Louis with his cold hand. Some French roots coming up from Louisiana, this gentleman, we're told. You can check him out on Wikipedia if you want the Coles Notes version of history. But you probably know what I think if you follow the channel.
I didn't see anything about the wood.
Well, no, but his comment was there may be wood, in the buildings for like an insulator instead of, the masonry. But again, it's speculation. And that was the reasoning for his speculation was as an insulator, for electrical insulator.
I don't know what if the spanner is yeah, you should be definitely moderator if that's what it is. I don't know. They keep dropping things off and everything, but it has been such I'm glad to see you, and we're praying for you. We're all in this together. So Randy, I got to get going, man. I got an appointment at 10:30. We're going to come back. I'm going to be doing a lot of Bible reading, What do you got going today, brother?
Well, when I took that phone call, my skid loader that I dropped off a month ago, whatever, is ready to be picked up. And he said, don't come before 1 p.m., so I'll get there, around shortly after 1 p.m. my time. Eyes on the prize.
I can imagine, and we're going to be doing some Bible studies and bring it all in together, because what we need right now is an understanding of that first love and that commitment and that visualization in our heart that right now it's all about spreading the word of Jesus Christ. And there's nothing more important. And it is, it's mind-boggling that they don't like the Apostle Paul, but they're accursed and we're not. Because the gospel is the beautiful thing. It's the God of love and mercy that is going to stand by what he knows is right and not deny that, even if it is something that it's an infection will not last in a body. There is going to be no evil. There is going to be only somehow we will be fit into the body of Christ, which is God in the flesh, and we're moving forward with what we don't know, but we've been promised, like Abraham. It's all good. It's all good. So I'm going to leave it at that. You have any final words, brother?
Well, I enjoyed your animation or cartoon comedy yesterday for that little segment.
Exactly. We're living in an enclosed dome. It may be an eyeball, a model of God's eye, and he wants us to obey him.
No, but what was that? Them books, Finding. I mean, there was a movie Finding, but there was a book where Finding. I can't think of the character's name, but he'd be in a crowd.
Oh, Waldo. Where's Waldo?
Yeah, Waldo. So I'm kind of parallel with that. finding where you are in or on this biblical timeline. Where are we? You know, and we know where we are, but the game that's being played with all the deceptions is like that timeline doesn't even exist. Well, no, it does, and the truth of the matter is, this doesn't go on indefinitely.
No.
And
And I want to thank the new listener, Swedish Lutheran, who has stuck this out for the whole time. And let's see, it says they asked some questions about predestination, encourage
yeah,
Ella.
I caught a question about, is the gold in the blood? Because it's the question was, the body parts. Well, the be more in the nerve system where the wireless, the body, how it communicates between all the functions and the melon and the calls of the kidney and whatever's happening, in our bodies would be similar to any human, whether it's a Titan or that, as far as the mountains and the body parts. That's where you're going to find the minerals, pretty much how they're
Exactly.
located.
Which is why, this is going to go so much more scarier and deeper than most people could possibly imagine, because I intend to prove that, are you worth your medal? Have you ever heard that? There was a time,
Yeah.
I do believe, that they were tricking people into believing they were going back to Africa and going to be, given land and everything else. But instead, they were shipped to places like Bethlehem Steel, thrown into boilers, and had their gold actually extracted from their bodies and their cinders spread across the railroad tracks. And I can prove it, and I'm going to be able to do it, and I've shown it before. And that's how evil they are, in that it wouldn't matter to them, because through their Darwin and theosophy and everything else, it's the same rationale of goyim. How can some people have been taught in their oral traditions of the law that, well, yes, this man raped that girl, but since she's a Gentile and doesn't have a soul, it doesn't count as rape, because that's not a real human. And that's our life right now. And that there are documented evidences of people saying, we're carrying these workers that we own to a place they're supposed to work, and our ship was about to sink, so we threw 90 of them overboard, but they weren't charged with murder because that was their property. And it wasn't like they were people with souls, because they were different people, like they're trying to do right now. Are there reptiles among us? Or are some people not truly human? And that's the trap. That's the trap. We're all humans. And if they're killing this other people and not looking on him, that, oh my goodness, given enough time and effort, I could probably teach this guy geometry, But they don't want that time and effort, because what they want are human resource slaves. And we're going to keep pounding that and pounding that, because that's what's true. We want people to believe the gospel. We want people to believe that it is faithfully preserved for us in the Old and New Testaments. And the most important thing to understand is the Bible teaches this is a flat earth nation, that the golden age has passed when you read it in context. And that's why we're never going to tell you anything else, because we're, one, called, two, chosen, and three, striving to be faithful to prove that we have your best interest at heart. Do you have any final words, Randy?
No,
I'd like
just stay. Just wishing everyone to be safe and healthy if they're able, if they have any control over it. Yeah.
Amen. It's Flat Earth Nation. We're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're determined to prove that we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah.